Good morning, everyone. Today we will be working on the sunny balcony. I came here to water the plants while owners are away on holidays. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to give you an update on this space, show you how the plants have grown and how this space has evolved. First things first, I need to water everything because everything is wilted. And then I want to make a quick run to the garden center to see what I can find, because I think I need to refresh their summer planters a little bit. And I'm also going to be replacing one of the plants here. But before all of this, let me give you a quick look on how it looks right now. Alright, so keep in mind that all the plants are wilted, but we will water them in just a second. So here on the left we have two photinias that act as a windbreak, as a privacy screen, beautiful evergreen plants. On the railings we have the composition that I planted a couple of months ago. And you guys, these plants were not watered in over a week. And look how well they are holding up. So we have these two begonias. I mean, two per planter, right? Two beautiful begonias. We have a creeping Jenny. I absolutely love creeping Jenny, and I love this mix of these pink begonias with the creeping Jenny. I think that looks very exotic and really, really beautiful. And we intend on keeping these plants all the way until late autumn. So we most likely won't be planting anything for fall this year, because both begonias and creeping Jenny will last until first frost. But at the back of this planter, I also planted, maybe I should show you this one because it looks better. We have Bidens and we have Heliotrope, and these two are not doing really well. So I'm thinking I will pull these two out and I will go check at the garden center. Maybe I can find more begonias to fill the back of the container with some beautiful begonias. Alright, and over here we have some petunias. And you know, that's so funny how I always avoid planting petunias in this garden, because whenever I planted petunias, like in the railing planters or wherever else, the owners were not able to keep them alive, like they would die within a couple of weeks. But this year, I mean, these two were planted by owners themselves, but this year I used my own custom water retaining potting mix in all of these planters, and then I left the extra that I had left for owners to use. And as you can see, it makes a world of a difference, because as I said, these plants were not watered in over a week, and look at them still holding up in full blazing sun almost all day long. So sometimes, you know, a small change can make a huge difference, and in this case, changing to a good quality water retaining potting mix was really the key to success in this garden. Over here we have this little grouping of plants. We have beautiful Clematis arabella that I planted last fall, and you guys, this Clematis has been blooming for the past 3 months non-stop. It started to bloom in May and it continues to bloom. We are end of July. And below we have two planters that I also planted earlier this season, and now I see that this planter receives far more sunlight than this one. So we have Sweet Alyssum, Verbena X hybrida, and polka dot plant, and this Sweet Alyssum is doing well. This Verbena is somewhat still in bloom, but over here Sweet Alyssum is not blooming at all, and the Verbena is also looking pretty leggy. And I think that I didn't realize at the moment that in fact this part of the planter is in full shade, even though the balcony is very sunny. You know, that's always funny how sometimes you can have a sunny balcony, but then you can have spots that are in full shade. So this was a mistake on my part, but we will trim those plants a little bit and hopefully they will bounce back a little bit. These two planters, they planted some beautiful Scabiosa by themselves. And it's not blowing super well, but that's the thing with perennial plants. You have to give them some time before they actually, you know, establish and they start to put on a beautiful flower show. And then we have this rose, and we will be removing it today because look at this poor thing looking all miserable. So it was badly damaged by sawfly larvae. I also had a problem with them this year on my rose, but I handpicked all of them. I managed to keep my rose happy and healthy, but they didn't realize they had a problem until it was a little bit too late, because pretty much every single leaf is damaged. So they asked me to remove this rose and replace it with something else. Phew, it is really hot out here today, but let's water all of these plants and then let's run quickly to the garden center, see what we can find. I'm hoping to find some begonias to refresh the summer planters, and then I also brought one plant from my own balcony to replace the rose. So I'm gonna show you this in just a second. Okay, I'm back from the garden center. Let me show you what I got. They didn't have many annual flowers anymore. They had some begonias, but they didn't have enough for me to replace all the plants in these planters and make them uniform. So I picked these beautiful kalanchoes. They had multiple colors, red and oranges and pinks, so I decided to go with yellows because the Bidens we had there before were also yellow. I think they will match these begonias really well. So we are gonna replace all these plants at the back with these beautiful kalanchoes. I think there's like 3 per planter, so I'm gonna plant 2 plants in each pot. And then I have these beautiful echinaceas. I mean, the plant tag says Rudbeckia, but these are not Rudbeckias. These are echinacea. Echinacea Cheyenne Spirit. Such a beautiful perennial that will bloom all the way until autumn, and even spent blooms, I think they look pretty attractive. So these will go here where we have those scabiosas. The owners wanted to remove scabiosas, but I told them please don't do it, because you know it's really easy to get discouraged when you see plants like these. But it's really important also to understand that perennial plants need a little bit more time, you know, to establish themselves. They won't maybe look great the first year, but if you give them a chance to, you know, establish their roots, to put on some growth, scabiosas look really, really beautiful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just move them forward a little bit and then plant each echinacea at the back of each of these pots. So to provide a little bit more height, because now this space is completely empty, to provide a bit of height, to add some color, and then we'll have those scabiosas kind of gently almost trailing from these containers. And I think that this mix of this sort of lilac colored scabiosas will look really beautiful with these beautiful echinaceas. So let's do this first, and then we are going to replace this rose with something else. So I'm just adding a little bit of extra soil around all of these plants, making sure that all the root balls are covered. These previous plants didn't have a lot of roots, so there was still plenty of soil left in these planters. So I just need to, you know, add just a little bit of soil on top. All right, this part is done, looking really cheerful. Now let's move to these planters on the floor. Alright, here they are. I absolutely love how these echinaceas look. Especially, I think they look really beautiful with this purple clematis above, and generally I think they'll be really lovely. If they let them grow, if they don't remove them at the end of the season, I think these could grow here like permanently, and I would think that will make a really beautiful perennial accent here. For those scabiosas, we will see what they do, if they grow or not. I think I'll trim them a little bit because they got a little bit leggy, so I will trim them and I'll fertilize them and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so now time for the rose, and I always say this, but roses are really high maintenance plants, especially when they are grown in containers. There's so many things to kind of keep in mind, so many things that you need to do if you really want your rose to look healthy, to bloom to its full potential. You know, they need 6 hours of sunlight, they need a good airflow, they need regular watering, regular fertilizing, proper pruning and all of that. So this rose that they have in here, they've been struggling with it ever since they planted it. And you know, I'm not, all of this that I do here on this balcony, I'm not doing this, let's say, professionally. That's not what I do. I do it because you know, I enjoy it and I like helping them enjoy their garden. So every now and then I come here and I help them maintain this garden, but at the same time, you know, I can't come here every single week to look after every single one of their plants. And unfortunately this year I didn't have much time to come check on the plants. And as I said, things got a little bit out of control, especially with that rose. Everything else looks great, but that rose has suffered a lot of damage from sawfly larvae, and most likely it's not gonna bloom this year. So we will have to wait another year for this rose to bounce back and to bloom again. And I think the owners kind of lost their patience with this plant. So that's why we are replacing it today with something else. And I suggested something that will be low maintenance, that will bloom all summer long, and that will be more, let's say, resistant to pests and diseases than this rose. So I actually brought something from my own balcony. Let me show you. Alright, so here it is. I brought my Passiflora, my passion flower, Eya Popea. I absolutely love this plant and I'm super happy that it grew so healthy in my garden, because those of you who have been following me for a while, maybe you guys remember that last year I bought it and it arrived looking absolutely miserable without a single healthy leaf on it. And I took care of it, it bounced back, it bloomed beautifully. So as I said, it's still very young. And how it works with Passifloras is that they produce these beautiful flowers, but individual flowers don't last very long. They last a day or two, but then the plant keeps producing new fresh flowers every single day. So I think that this Passiflora will look really beautiful in here. And given that this Clematis blooms all summer long and Passiflora will bloom all summer long, I think this will make a really lovely mix in here that will provide color all season long. And Passiflora is super easy maintenance, doesn't require a ton of water, doesn't require a ton of fertilizer, and yeah, I mean, pretty much no maintenance plant. So I'm gonna pull this rose out and plant Passiflora in its place. Alright, so this rose came out pretty much in one piece. It was a bit pot bound, so there's no soil left. So good thing that I bought some extra soil. I'm using a mix of garden soil and organic matter. You could also use a mix of garden soil and multi-purpose potting mix. That's what I always recommend for trees, shrubs and larger climbers. Alright, so here it is. I attached it with some soft plant wire, but generally they create these twisting petioles and they attach themselves to any sort of support. I think it looks great. I mean, it filled out the space beautifully. We have a few flowers. I'm gonna water it right away so that it doesn't wilt. And then I'm also gonna remove some spent blooms on this Clematis to make it look a little bit cleaner. Alright, so it's all done, all planted. Now time to water everything once again, and then I'm gonna give you a final tour. Alright, so let's go. So these planters on the railings here, they receive full direct sunlight, as you can see, all day long. But then these petunias over here, they get sunlight until early afternoon, and the area over there is basically partial shade, because it does receive sunlight in the morning, but not so much in the afternoon anymore. Only the climbing plants, I noticed the climbing plants, they do get some sort of, if I can say so, overhead sunlight in the afternoon, but the bottom part here is in partial shade. So I'm hoping that these echinaceas will do fine. Echinaceas can tolerate partial shade. I've seen them grow beautifully in partial shade, so I'm hoping that they will do just fine in here. I mean, look at them. Aren't these the most stunning echinaceas you've ever seen? Just look at those colors. I mean, so beautiful. And plenty of new flowers developing, so I think we'll have still a beautiful flower show until autumn. I trimmed scabiosas a little bit because they were super leggy and they had a ton of spent blooms on them. So I trimmed them, I watered and fertilized everything. So I'm hoping that all of this will look beautiful. Our two climbing plants over here. So the Passiflora doesn't look super hot at the moment, obviously, because I pulled it out of the pot, transplanted it here in the heat of the afternoon sun. So I'm hoping it's gonna bounce back, and in a couple of days we can enjoy more flowers, because it does have lots of flower buds. If you look close, plenty of flower buds everywhere. So once those flowers start to open, I think it will start to look really pretty. And I already like this mix with Clematis, as you can see. I think this will be a really sweet mix, because the Passiflora is more of a pinkish flower, and then beautiful lavender colored Clematis arabella. Alright you guys, so thanks so much for joining me today for this balcony gardening day on this sunny balcony. Hope you all have a beautiful day, and we'll see each other again in the next video.